As we start, try to have a headset. Don't have one. Try to ask for one.
Mic is on?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Just confirm that you can hear me by waving your hand. Thank you so much. Perfect. I'd like to invite those at the back. If you're going to be part of this event, please kindly sit down so that we can get started. If you don't have a seat and want to stand at the back, please be as quiet as possible. Thank you so much. So perhaps the first question to ask is why we're here. The simple answer is that, as we all probably know, adaptation to the impacts of climate change has been acknowledged by everyone in policy, and even the science support it as a priority for Africa. And there are a number of reasons for that. But the most important reason is that Africa is one of the continents most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, due in part because of its location and exposure to a wide range of extreme weather events, but also because it lacks the capacity to deal with those events. And because of that, adaptation has been high on the agenda of African policymakers, thanks to the work of advocacy organizations like the Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance, the Africa Coalition for Sustainable Energy and Access, and all others who have been on this business. And so this afternoon, we are convened here to look at one of the flagship programs that aims to advance the cause of climate change adaptation in Africa, but also one that is focused on one of the principal weaknesses of our adaptation policies, which is the lack of adaptation finance. So this event will focus primarily on that problem. But there's a second problem that the event tries to address, which is the lack of youth involvement and youth voices in decision making, but also the potential that exists among young people to elevate the need for adaptation and adaptation finance on the continent. We want to welcome all those who are joining us, the young people who are here, but also the dignitaries from different Pan-African institutions. We have with us two senators from the Republic of Chad. Your Excellencies, we're glad to have your honorables. We're glad to have you with us here this evening. It's important that you thought this was an event to be part of. We have representatives, of course, of the Africa Development Bank, who have also acknowledged the pertinence of adaptation and have stood by us in the work that we do to advance this cause. We have representatives from civil society, and some of them will speak here this evening, and we'll introduce them as time goes on. But to get us started, I'd like to invite a distinguished representative. I can't see Ambassador Seni. Is there someone from Africa Adaptation Initiative? All right, so we'll hear from someone from the Africa Adaptation Initiative once they come, but we'd like to invite the distinguished representative of the African Development Bank, because this is the African Development Bank Pavilion. to welcome us, say a few things, and get us started. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me first welcome you all in the AfDB Pavilion at the second Africa Climate Summit here in Addis Ababa. I'm glad that today we are discussing a very topical issue, adaptation, the importance of adaptation for Africa, and the role of youth in driving this adaptation agenda for the continent. Let me also recognize the important role of PAGJA. I know that we have been working together for several years now in advocating for climate action, for the role of the civil society in climate action in Africa. And I'm glad that together we are coming today to discuss how African youth could enhance their interventions into adaptation across the continent. So on the behalf of the African Development Bank, I really welcome you and invite you to make your comments and make sure that we get out of this event with important insights that could inform our work on adaptation moving forward. As you may know, the African Development Bank has a very important and bold agenda on youth. There are some initiatives that we are currently implementing. One of them being the Enable Youth Initiative. It's a program that is aiming to create about 25 billion jobs for youth across Africa. Beside that program, we have another one which is very important. We call it Youth Entrepreneurship and Innovation Fund. This is a fund that is already established at the African Development Bank. And if you need more information on that, we can provide you with that information and put you in touch with our colleagues that are driving that fund. As you may know, there is at the African Development Bank a department called Human Capital, Youth, and Skills Development Department. So this department is our main focal point when it comes to youth initiative. Now, when it has to do with adaptation, this is currently being led by my department, the Climate Change and Green Growth Department. So you see the link between the work that our department in charge of youth is doing and what we are doing in the Climate Change Department. And more specifically on adaptation, actually, the first bank's strategy on climate change was on adaptation. That strategy was adopted in May 2009, and it was called Climate Risk Management and Adaptation Strategy. And this strategy has driven the process across which the bank has gone to develop currently and implement it, what we call a strategic framework on climate change and green growth, which is going to be implemented up to 2030. I'm saying that because we come a long way from the strategy on adaptation to have a comprehensive framework which is guiding our interventions on climate change. And under that strategy, over the last 4 years, we have been implementing one important program called Africa Adaptation Acceleration Program, a program that is currently mobilizing about 25 billion climate finance for adaptation in Africa. And as I speak, we have mobilized about 12.5 billion already. We still have a way to go to mobilize the remaining 12.5 billion for adaptation. And under that program, we have established a program called Youth Adapt Program. I'm sure you heard about it. I see a lot of youth in the room. This program has launched several what we call competitions or challenges for youth. And at top, we used to announce the youth initiative that are selected under that competition. And to date, 41 youth-led enterprises have already been selected and supported by the bank. We provide a grant of about 100,000 US dollars for each enterprises for them to develop and test their ideas and commercialize them. And we are glad to see that all of those initiatives have been able to mobilize co-financing using the grants that have been provided to them. In total, we have provided so far 4.1 billion US dollars as grant for 41 enterprises. 61% of those enterprises are women-led, and these 4.5 million USD has been used to mobilize another 7.4 million US dollars. So it's a leverage ratio of about 1 to 2. So $1 provided to a youth initiative has been able to mobilize another $2. So it shows that it makes a business and an economic sense to invest in youth in Africa, in adaptation initiative led by African youth. And we have also observed that those youth-led enterprises have been able to create jobs for other youth, for other young people. As I speak, about 10,000 new jobs have been created by those initiatives supported by this Youth Adapter program. And we have also observed that some of those initiatives have received international recognition. They received international awards. And this is something that I'm very proud of, because we see that African youth are able to showcase initiative and also get recognized at international level. And this is a very promising initiative, and the bank is very proud of that. Currently, we are expanding that program to become more bigger than it is now, so that we can support more youth-led initiatives in the near future. So I don't want to speak much, but when the program will be ready, we will be aware, you will be informed. And even today, we have discussed how the expansion is going to take place. And this is going to be a very interesting opportunity for African youth to also increase and enhance their action, their interventions when it comes to supporting adaptation action across the continent. Let me stop here, and I thank you very much for your attention, and I wish us all very fruitful deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Very shortly, we're going to have a conversation with other stakeholders to see how youth can really engage, not only in advocating for increased adaptation finance, but access adaptation finance. And your presentation has quite taken us already into that conversation. And thanks for sharing those important opportunities with the young people here this afternoon. One of the questions that is probably on all our minds is exactly what do we mean when we talk about the Youth for Adaptation Finance in Africa initiative? As a context, it's an initiative. So I just want to clarify before we get into it, because it's an initiative, it's not an organization. So when you're a member of YAF, you're actually a member of a movement. So that let's clarify that from the very outset. But let me invite the coordinator of that initiative to speak to us in a little more detail about the initiative. And once he's finished, we're going to show you what the initiative is already doing for young people across the continent. So let me invite Mr. Yembe to speak to us about YAF.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. I know we are tired, but the people at the front lines of climate change are also very tired. In fact, they are more tired than we are, trying to solve a problem that they have not caused. And then we ask ourselves the question, adaptation is a priority for Africa, but why is it not receiving the funding it deserves? Is it because those who have created this problem, in doing so, have safeguarded mechanisms for them to adapt to these shocks and then to hell with the people who have not created the problem? So the initiative, the YAF initiative, is actually here to highlight these issues and bring to the limelight that if we are talking about justice, especially in the climate shocks that we are having, adaptation is supposed to be at the core of the discussion, especially when you are talking about climate change in Africa. As we know, Africa has contributed less than 4% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. And Yet we are the ones who are experiencing the highest amount of climate shocks. And with the lack of this finance, it keeps on putting our people and frontline communities in a vicious cycle of poverty and vulnerability, where we have farmers who can't irrigate their crops. It threatens food security, it threatens our health. In fact, it threatens our very way of life as an African society, as an African community. And that is why initiatives like the YAF Africa initiatives is here to raise the demand for more than doubling of adaptation finance for Africa. Because if you only double, it is still not going to solve the issues that we are facing as an African continent. So, what is our response? Like I said, our response is actually bringing into limelight this initiative, the YAF Africa initiative, and which this initiative was actually inaugurated in 2023 at the sidelines of the Nairobi Summer School on Climate Justice in Nairobi. And the initiative was brought with four main objectives. One is to raise the awareness about the impacts of climate change on Africa and the need for a fair adaptation finance mechanism, and emphasis on fair adaptation finance mechanisms. The second is also to advocate for grant-based funding for adaptation in Africa from developed countries, especially polluter countries and other finance institutions. Third is to promote the participation of African countries in the design and implementations of adaptation projects. We are the ones who know what is best for us on how to adapt, because we are already adapting with or without the help of polluter countries. So we know what is best for us. We are advocating that when projects are being designed for the African communities, especially when it's centered around adaptation, it should be from the ground up. The people are supposed to inform on what they need and not the other way around. And finally, is to ensure that the financing mechanisms are transparent, accountable, and accessible to all African countries. So, with that being said, we have many um, YAF ambassadors all over the continent, and we will see them on the panel here talking about what they have been doing in their different communities. So, but I'll just give just a small touch on what is happening. You can see that our YAF ambassadors in Malawi are concentrated on tree planting, honey beekeeping, and vegetable farming, bringing communities together to see how they can work in elevating. Please come back. In elevating, in bringing the people from the different communities together to actually adapt to climate change by means of participation. In Burkina Faso, they've taken more of a recycling route, trying to clean up their environment and using materials to produce fertilizer for agriculture and what have you. And in Cameroon, we've engaged in what we call a biofertilizer project, where we have trained over 788 farmers on the production and application of biofertilizer. And this in turn has enriched the degraded soil in that region in such a way that even during the driest of seasons, they're still able to produce very high quality food crops. And this ensures food security. And it has reduced their dependence on chemical fertilizers, which is not only harmful to their health, and in now other countries, like we have in Chad, in Benin, in Egypt, and across Africa, they've engaged in a more political lens, where they've engaged policymakers, brought them on the table in the discussion about adaptation and adaptation finance. And then also, we are a youth initiative, we're a youth movement. And one of our biggest tools is actually social media. We have conducted a lot of advocacy campaigns on our social media, and we'll see what we have done when the first panel will be here to present. So, that being said, our response to all of this is actually our flagship program by the Pan African Climate Justice Alliance and the African Coalition for Sustainable Energy and Access, called YOFAFA, which is the Youth Forum on Adaptation Finance in Africa. And this forum seeks to bring young African youths and even beyond to come together and consolidate ideas on how we are going to tackle this grave injustice that is plaguing the African continent. And the forum has looks in a puzzle. It's okay. Go ahead. Okay. So this is how the forum looks like. It's a forum that spans 3 days, featuring panel discussions and workshops. And during that forum, participants gain knowledge and skills on climate finance, advocacy, and project development. At the end of the forum, we bring about an advocacy campaign to raise awareness and on the call for more than doubling of adaptation finance. And this mobilizes young activists to amplify their voices in the demand for more than doubling of adaptation finance. So these are the four main objectives of this forum. One, the first objective is it is an it should the advocacy for youth inclusive in adaptation finance. Youth needs to be inclusive. It should be included in the discussion of designing projects in requesting for adaptation finance. In fact, they should be at the table when they are designing finance mechanisms for adaptation for Africa. It also aims to build the capacity of young Africans with the knowledge and skills in writing project proposals for the available fundings that are available for Africa. And what? Oh, time. Okay, so also to facilitate access to funding and to scale youth-led solutions. So the youths are carrying out a lot of work, and we need to see how to promote this work that the youths are carrying on the ground, like I showed you. So we've had already two of these forums. We had the inaugural forum and in 2023, and the second forum in 2024, and we're looking forward to the third forum in 2025, which will take place in October in Botswana. So far, the movement has grown. We've had more than 2,000 youths who have signed up to this initiative, and we encourage those who haven't signed up to sign up to this initiative. The more people we have driving this discourse, the more Africa's priorities is going to be represented on the global stage. So one of our biggest achievements since the creation of the launch of this initiative was having the Cameroon Minister of Finance actually taking the Yaoundé African Youth Call as Cameroon's position to COP 28 in Dubai. And we had three key demands in this call, which was improve adaptation finance allocation, enhance accessibility and efficiency of adaptation finance, and strengthen innovation, coordination, and accountability of the said finance. Also, we had our pre-OFAFA forum, which took place in July, and we have our youth representative, our youth ambassador from Ethiopia, Yabi, who will read our recommendations and what we came out from that forum for ACS and COP ACS 2 and COP 30. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Afanyu. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yabsaga Getachew. I am from Ethiopia, which is the country that you are in, and I'm also the alumni of Nairobi Summer School as well as the YAF ambassador. So today I'm going to read the Yofafa Declaration. So please, please, please make sure to follow me because we have this declaration. So with the use of the Africa convened of the pre-Yofafa virtual forum under the theme Elevating Climate Adaptation Finance at Africa Climate Summit 2, bring forth these demands as a collective expression of our urgent priorities, insights and commitments insights and commitments ahead of the second African Climate Summit 2. Amidst growing climate vulnerability, limited access to finance, and deepening socio-economic inequalities, African youth continue to stand at the front lines of adaptation, innovating, advocating, and building resilience in our communities. Yet our efforts remain under-resourced and under-recognized in mainstream climate finance mechanisms. As young leaders, we demand nothing less than a transformative shift in how adaptation finance is mobilized, allocated, and governed in Africa, our continent. Our demands are as follows: more than double adaptation finance. The first one is more than double adaptation finance, which is we call on African governments and development partners to fulfill and exceed the global commitment to more than double adaptation finance. And also prioritize grants over loans, particularly for youth-led initiatives, least developed countries, and frontline communities. The second demand that we have is institutionalized youth participation, which we demand guarantee youth representation in national and regional climate finance decision-making spaces, including NDA process and national climate councils. Also, we demand to establish dedicated funding windows for youth-led climate adaptation solutions. The third demand that we have is mainstream adaptation across sectors. We urge policymakers to invest in climate resilient agriculture with youth centered training and access to finance, scale up community based adaptation in health, water, and food systems. Our fourth demand is ensure accountability and justice. We call for the promotion and transparency of climate finance with clear data on fund flows to youth and grassroots actors. Strengthen climate justice frameworks to protect the rights of indigenous, rural, and marginalized youth. Build youth capacity and innovation. We request the creation and funding of youth innovation hubs for adaptation. Also integrate climate education and adaptation finance literacy in a formal and informal learning systems. So we, the Ethiopian youth, conclude that youth of Africa are not only future leaders, but we are today frontline defenders of resilience, justice, and dignity in the face of the climate crisis. On the African Climate Summit, too, must reflect our urgency, agency, and solutions. These demands are not aspirations, they are necessities for survival and transformation of the youth group. So, we urge African governments, development partners, multilateral banks, and climate finance institutions to act boldly and inclusively, elevating adaptation finance without use is a half measure. Our ideas, energy, and innovation are indispensable to the continental adaptation ambition. We are ready to co create and a just climate resilient Africa, but we need access, trust, and also finance. So, this is our declaration. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I found myself with two microphones now. Now, this is the strategy of YAF. It's that in addition to declarations, young people are also trying to demonstrate that they can be key actors in building resilience and adaptive capacities in their communities. And we'd like to showcase a couple of them. Some of them were already reflected upon in Afanyu's presentation, but allow me invite 5 young Africans who are doing tremendous work in their communities to share very briefly their work. Mary Orich from Cameroon. Please, as I call your name, just come and take a seat up here. We have Idris Adum from Chad, Salem Ayenan from Benin, Fatumata Diallo from Burkina Faso, and Hope Mandela from Malawi. So I want each one of you in 1.5 to 2 minutes, if it's possible, to tell us exactly what you're doing in your communities, what results you're seeing, and what is needed to scale the work that you're doing. In any order, I'm going to start with the person with the microphone, and we can go down the floor. Thank you. 2 minutes each, if it's possible.
Thank you very much and good evening to everyone. So, we have already heard about the Youth Forum on Adaptation Finance in Africa. We have already heard about the impacts of the work that we are doing. But then one of the things that we are doing so much to um promote our work is on social media is something that we started called the YAFcast initiative. The YAFcast initiative is a podcast series designed to elevate African voices in the global conversation on climate adaptation finance, and it seeks to demystify adaptation finance, spotlight youth innovation, and highlight the intersection of policy, gender, media, and livelihoods in advancing climate justice. So the Yafcast is not just a podcast like any other podcast. It's a podcast that seeks to bring together young people across Africa to tell us about the work they are doing and what they think needs to be done in their various sectors. Because we then realize that many young people are doing a lot of work in their various sectors, but then they do not have the platform to showcase the work that they are doing in their platforms. And that is one of the things that the Yafcast seeks to, the gap that the Yafcast seeks to bridge, presenting the work that the youth are doing across Africa. And then we also have the Twitter spaces that we occasionally organize to talk about the impacts of climate change in our various communities, to talk about adaptation finance flows in Africa, to talk about the position of youth, to talk about opening up opportunities for youth and how we can open up more opportunities for youth in Africa. So this is like one of the two of the many things that we are doing. You have already heard about the biofertilizer project that we are doing in Donga Mantoun and how it is impacting the lives of the displaced people. For those of you who do not know, Cameroon is going through a crisis currently. It's a conflict area in Bamenda. And so those people who are in that area, they are being displaced due to the conflict. So we thought it wise to go down to that area and train some farmers, those displaced, the women, on how to produce and use biofertilizers as it was already presented to you. We have some flyers here about on the work that we are doing. It's going to go around in the room for you to see the work that we have been doing on biofertilizer. You're going to see the work we have been doing when it comes to the Youth Forum on Adaptation Finance, and you're going to see the work that we have been doing when it comes to the YAFCA series and how we are thinking to how we can or how we are thinking that the YAFCA series can be improved is we are hoping to gain to be able to bring in more policymakers, bring in high stakeholders in order to give up YAFCAS more sustainability and more power and more visibility. So that's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary. I have seen your studios and your equipment. And I think that if there's anything you need urgently, it's a better studio and better equipment, so that you can continue to highlight the voices and actions of young people from across the continent. I would like to pass over now to Idris, who was just north of Cameroon in Chad.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eugene. First of all, I would like to thank the presence of our senators who accept to be with us today because they are supporting us what we are doing in Chad and what YAF is doing in Chad. And secondly, I would like to thank the representative of the Minister of Environment, because he promised us to be with us today, but he has a meeting in another side, so he sent someone to represent him. So that I would like to start by this one. Secondly, I would like to say to my fellows, to my brothers and sisters young, what we are doing in Chad is not coming from everywhere. It is a learning lesson that we had from Yofafa 2023, 2024, sorry, and we present the youth call, Yaoundé youth call, to the representative of the government in the region of Bahr el Ghazal. From there, we learn 150 youth ambassadors to practice what we learn from Cameroon. So because we learned what is the biofertilizer from the Cameroon, and we copy this one and paste it in Chad. Actually, most of the women that we train them with the support of the ambassadors, they are practicing this best practice. Secondly, in 1 minute, Eugene. Secondly, we organize this here with the support of Senator, with the support of the Minister of Environment, with the support of UNICEF and IOM. We organize the local conference of youth. We organize this one, and the two acts that we use is the adaptation finance, how youth can contribute in this area. And youth ambassadors, they are really implicated in this area, and we want to see the result. We have many activities, we organize it, but we have only 2 minutes, so I can't continue. Thank you.
So just before you pass the microphone, what do you think you need to scale the work that you're doing?
So the thing that I'm thinking actually to scale up is simple. We need a train, because we saw that by the training, we can mobilize, we can touch many youth, many women, and many communities.
So more training then. Thank you so much. We're going to go across the lake and further west to Burkina Faso, Fatoumata. I keep making an error.
D'accord, merci beaucoup à tous d'être là. Je suis Fatoumata Diallo du Burkina Faso, fièrement ambassadrice de YAF Burkina. Alors, après avoir bénéficié des renforcements de capacité de YAF, parce que je suis alumni de Nairobi Summer School et de la YOFAFA, alors nous avons réfléchir à comment est-ce que nous pouvions implémenter nos acquis auprès de nos communautés locales. Et en cela, nous avons en tout cas identifié un problème que nous vivons chez nous au Burkina Faso, qui est l'excès des déchets qui sont émis dans l'environnement. Et au vu de cela, nous avions travaillé sur des initiatives que nous avions mises en place et dont nous avons mis au profit de nos communautés locales. Nous travaillons donc avec les femmes, les jeunes, les personnes vivant avec les handicaps au Burkina Faso. Et nous avons eu à travailler sur différents types de déchets, à savoir la biomasse, les déchets biodégradables, les plastiques et les cartons usés. Et en cela, nous avons relayer l'innovation que nous avions développée au Burkina Faso dans nos différentes régions. Au Burkina, il faut dire que nous avons 13 régions et nous avons pu toucher 5 régions aujourd'hui, et nous avons plus de 200 bénéficiaires directs qui ont bénéficié de l'innovation que nous avons développée à travers le compostage, les pavés en plastique, mais également l'agriculture smart et l'agriculture smart. Et aujourd'hui, nous pouvons compter plus de 700 bénéficiaires indirects. C'est pour dire que lorsque nous prenons l'engagement de renforcer la capacité des femmes, des jeunes et des personnes handicapées dans nos communautés locales qui sont le plus dans le besoin de ces questions de changement climatique que nous vivons, nous avons un impact beaucoup plus visible, parce que cela crée des activités génératrices de revenus pour ces communautés locales-là, mais également le besoin se fait ressentir beaucoup plus rapidement.
Merci beaucoup. Très rapidement, en 30 secondes. Qu'est-ce qu'il faut pour renforcer ce que vous faites déjà?
Très rapidement, pour renforcer ce que nous faisons, nous avons pu remarquer qu'il y a plus de demandes par rapport au renforcement de capacité que nous avions fait, et nous lançons un appel à nos différentes institutions pour accompagnement de ces communautés qui sont le plus dans le besoin, parce qu'aujourd'hui, la transition écologique n'est pas un luxe, mais plutôt une nécessité pour nos communautés locales, mais pour la entière. Merci.
Nous allons très rapidement écouter ce qui se passe au Bénin, et nous avons avec nous notre ami Salem.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Eugene. So as you can see, many of us are doing the production of biofertilizer and the biopesticide. And what is interesting is that when we calculate, we realize that when the communities or the farmers they are going to buy the fertilizer, the chemical fertilizer or the pesticide, they use like $50. But when we use the local plants produce those biofertilizer, we realize that with $8 they can produce their own biofertilizer and use it. And we also made some. We also organized the National Conference on Climate Change in Benin. And last year, the topic was on climate adaptation. We consult on global goal adaptation. We train young people on climate policies and everything. And this year, we work on agroecology. And we go to the field, we visit the farmers, we see what they are doing, and we also engage in the legal empowerment of some communities in Benin, because those communities there are some companies and they come to extract the river sand. So we train them so that they can start economic activities themselves, like agriculture and other things.
Thanks so much. What do you need to scale?
I think we need capacity building as young people. We also need that our voice should be heard by those who are in the decision making
Thank you so much.
stages. Thank you.
I think you made your point, and I have the privilege of reading some of those reports. And one of the key impacts that I see is that these activities are not only helping farmers to cope with the impact of the climate crisis, but it's reducing the cost of production for farmers and increasing revenue for farmers. So it's kind of a double, sometimes triple win for these farmers. But let's pivot east. Oh, yes, east, and is Malawi in Eastern Africa or Southern Africa?
Southeast.
That's a beautiful balance. So let's go to Malawi and hear what's happening there, Hope.
Yeah, thank you so much, Eugene. My name is Hope Mandala from Malawi. I'm an alumni of the Nairobi Summer School and also YAF ambassador. We are currently doing the green initiatives. We are focusing much on honey production. We are focusing also on the organic vegetable, and also the fruit tree planting. So with my community people, they are about 65. We made the beehives. We made the beehives so that we can. Okay, with the community members, we made the beehives. We are also doing vegetables and also fruit trees. In fruit trees, we are training them to do grafting, so that we focused in the green initiative so that it can be sustainable. Whether there will be no funding, but it can be able to sustain itself. So we are lacking some things like a community house that can be used as a factory. We also have a big land that we can use to plant more beehives. Currently, we have 50 beehives, but if funding can be there, we can pump in more beehives and we can add more people. And also, we need more trainings for the people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to make one comment. I know we would have loved to engage with you a little more and figure out what you're doing, but we don't have enough time. But
Yeah.
this is what bothers me. Why is it that when it comes to Africa, the language is micro enterprise, microfinance, small scale, smallholder farmers? When we talk about scaling, should we scale beyond just remaining in our micro cocoon? So think about how you scale a little bigger than that, and let's see whether we can together transform the continent. Thank you so much for your time. A round of applause for this young
And
people.
just a second. This is the product we have been producing.
Okay.
We are already producing, like this year, we produce 98 bottles of 500 mils.
So 98 is very small. We want to see you put
small.
1 million bottles on the market.
Yeah, that's why
You need to get to have your product on all of the supermarket shelves across the continent, and why not beyond, right?
Exactly.
So think about how big you can get. Thank you so
Okay.
much, guys. No, let's leave the stage. A round of applause for this wonderful young man. And allow me invite another panel. Their presentation has taken, majority of it has been in the form of problems. So how do we solve some of those issues that they have raised? So let me invite and bring back another panel. I'm looking around. Dr. Mwenda has just left. Where is he? Okay, he's surely going to come back. Just recently, PACJA launched a new fund, and it's a fund that can address some of these issues. So I want to invite Becky to come forward and sit on one of those tables. I'm looking around. I want to figure out if our representative of AAI is now here. What's the African Adaptation Initiative doing? And how can it help transform some of these youth initiatives? I do understand that there's a lot going on. There's so many meetings happening at the same time. So it's sometimes understandable that people don't show up. I'm not sure it's because they don't think what we are discussing is important. Is important. Yes, that's what I wanted to say. So let me invite Lydia. Is Lydia here? Where is Lydia? Yes, Lydia, please come. And I want to start with Becky to share with us. The young people have raised the concerns of scaling, and talk to us about this. Since you're just two of you, I would invite you to sit in the middle of the room, one on that side. Yes. Tell us briefly about what this fund is and how young people can access this in 5 minutes, if you can.
Thank you so much, Eugene, and thank you so much, everyone, for this opportunity. My name is Rebecca Kalume. I represent Climate Justice Impact Fund for Africa, which is an initiative of PACJA. I've come up with 5 statements that I will just start off about CGFA. 1, funding that adapts to community realities and not just about the mechanisms that are being dictated from the global north. And then on number 3, CGFA is about innovation, not monotony, diverse, indigenous, and youth-driven solutions, not just one size fitting all models. Number 4, CGFA is about opportunity, not capitalism. It is for opportunities for growth and sustainability, not explicit for profit making. And then number 5, partnerships, not beneficiaries. We see CGFA grantees as our partners, scaling them up and making them as movements so that we can continue to champion forward climate justice. So just briefly, in a few minutes, CGFA is incubated in PACJA. It has been running for 2 to 3 years now. We have supported 64 grantees in 8 countries, and we aspire to support grantees in 25 countries by the end of this year. We currently received 3,365 applications from our latest cohort, which is cohort 5. And I think I will stop there because I don't want to proceed over what Eugene is going to ask me next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me invite Godwin to also join us. Godwin, do you want to take a seat and tell us what, from the philanthropic community, young people can look up to? Godwin, a hand of applause for him as he joins us, is with the Gates Foundation, and they've been supporting adaptation work on the continent. But before we get to you, let me ask Lydia, perhaps to join the conversation of the young people, but this time from women's perspective, and share with us what some of the challenges are, especially in terms of accessing adaptation finance.
All right. Thank you very much. Really, when we look at adaptation and then we look at the young people, and of course, it's not just about the voices of the young people, but it's the solutions of the young people that they have. And then we realize that also in the young people, we're talking of the different genders. We're talking of the female and the male, and also in terms of what are some of those challenges that they face in terms of galvanizing those solutions into actions, and that speaks in terms of the funding that needs to be there. So one of the challenges, especially when we talk of the female or the women, the young women in this, has been around the literacy levels around financial management in terms of the projects, but also how do they also develop those projects? How do they document some of the actions that they are doing? So it is around the capacities, the trainings around financial literacy, and also project management and documentation, as well as the skills development. I think Eugene is just mentioning in terms of the scaling up of large scale of these actions that are there. We've seen in terms of what is coming out from different African countries, but also what kind of skills are there so that they are advanced, so that they are at a larger scale. We should stop the piloting, but then move more on a larger scale. So it is around these skills and also financing these initiatives at more larger scale. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm glad that you were able to bring those perspectives to the conversations. And again, my problem is, why do we have to be on a continent where everything is discussed in micro terms? I mentioned micro enterprise, but also micro grants. We've heard that kind of language. Small grants is a big deal in the development community. And the Gates Foundation has been very instrumental in advancing adaptation and adaptation finance, not only on the continent, but globally, as what should be a priority for climate action. And again, thank you, because all of this work is also thanks to the grants that we received from the Gate Foundation. Perhaps a round of applause, because we have someone who's actually trying to make things change. But the question I want to ask you is, what needs to change? What are the opportunities? How do we get from 80 bottles of honey to 1 million? What can change tremendously from the perspective of a philanthropy?
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Um, well, I mean, some of these questions you're asking, Eugene, I think it's also questions we've been asking ourselves, which is how do you get to scale? And I think the only way you see impact is when you reach scale. So for me, this is the first time I'm actually really experiencing some of this on the ground, seeing some of the beneficiaries of this innovative approach, holding him, seeing him raise that bottle of honey alone. For me, it's hope. It's just we are we, we are at a point where we are trying to cultivate and harness youth innovation, and most of that will start small. And I think it's upon us partners to be able to help catalyze and scale up some of these efforts. And I think that's some of the efforts we are trying to make, because all of this at the end of the day boils down to capacity and also boils down to finance. I, Personally, I am impressed to hear all the youth here asking for capacity. They didn't start with finance first. When you ask them what they need to scale up, most people will say we need money. What I heard them say is we need capacity. And I think this is where philanthropic catalytic resourcing can help, is how do you bring fellow partners on this journey that can help boost capacity for these young innovators to be able to scale. There is no way philanthropy can replace government. We will not even try to replace government. We don't have nearly enough resources to replace government. But what we can do, and perhaps do better, is to move at speed to bring fellow travelers on board and to be able to help these young folks build the capacity they need. But it's also, I've heard a lot of talk about access to finance and access to finance. Um, we are, I think we need to all admit that we are in a totally different world today. And so we should continue to call for the rich countries, rich nations to pay more for pollution, But we should also find innovative ways to raise capital, either within our countries, but also any other existing capital that is currently on the market. This is where philanthropy also plays a role, because then we should be able to help partners like you to assess financing that is sitting like, say, GCF. Complicated process, but philanthropy can actually help build that capacity. So you are not talking about 98 bottles. You are talking about accessing millions of funds from GCF to help this young man go to the 2 million bottles that you're talking about. I think that it is possible. I think those are partnerships we should build. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And just to say, and to add to what you've just said, is that last year we also changed strategy because we realized that it wasn't enough to make declarations. It wasn't enough to roll out these small scale initiatives in communities, but we needed also to provide capacity for young people to access financing. And this whole program around the Youth Forum on Adaptation Finance, which is training for capacity access, especially from the GCF, with experts who know how to do it. In fact, we managed to bring people who have helped governments access resources from these climate finance institutions to provide that knowledge to young people. I'm looking at the back and I'm trying to see if there's anyone trying to throw us out of this room because we have exhausted our time. And until that happens, sorry? Oh, I'm told we have 30 minutes. That's really good. So we have 20 minutes or so to engage with our panel. And any of the young people who presented, you can speak from where you are, but we want to open it up to everyone and hear your thoughts. It just doesn't have to be questions. You can also share some of the work that you're doing and what you think can be done to scale it. So I'm going to look around the room. I would like someone to come get a microphone from here if there's no microphone at the back. I'll start by the wall. There's a hand. There's a hand here. Quickly tell us your name and go straight to your question, please.
Yes, good afternoon. Well, my name is Faisal Arafat. I'm a youth from Kenya. And to put it simply, I wanted to address the issue of the brother from Malawi when he presented his one bottle of honey. And he said that they've done 98 bottles this year. And then when he talked about expanding and scaling, I would like to put it the way Eugene put it. He was talking on a micro level instead of talking about scaling upwards. So I wanted to ask if it's possible to tackle this issue, maybe sensitizing these youth and letting them know that you can't just stop in your country. You don't have to stop in your country. You can go beyond, you can go above and beyond, you can export. So aside from financial support and any other type of support that is given, maybe exploring sensitization and letting them know that the sky is the limit, not just your country.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I'm going to take that as a comment and as a contribution to the discussion. So there's no obligation to respond to that. Dr. Jamshif, you promise not to punish me. I'm going to let you speak last. All right? So, no, let's stay at the back and come to the front so that when we get to the front, we can conclude. Let's finish with any hand at the back. I'm going to stand so I can see everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kono Joel from Cameroon. I represent an association, Green Initiative Association, where we are actually into organic waste transformation into organic manure, and also biofertilizers. I was impressed to hear that such a project is being done in Donga Mantum. We are doing that in Boya at the macro level, but we actually intend to go at the micro level, but we actually intend to go macro, because we realize that about 57% of the waste in our waste stream in Boya is made out of organic. And this method, the only method Boya does is open burning at the landfill. And so we are at the level of struggling to sensitize people to be able to do sorting at their various homes so that it can ease us to be able to carry the materials from there and go out with it. So the question I want to find out is signing in with YAF and other organizations here, is it going to be easier, or can it be able to facilitate us to get more beans and more sensitization and able to expand this and get it to macro level? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Quick answer to that question. Don't go without seeing the coordinator of YAF and have a conversation with him about how you can become.
D'accord, je vais juste ajouter un petit point.
Is there a hand at the back? No? All right, let's come to the middle. Oui, allez-y.
Et c'est sur les questions de renforcement de capacité en langue locale, parce que nous avons eu à faire de l'expérience avec la langue française ou anglaise, avec les différents pays, relativement aux différents pays, mais on se rend compte qu'avec les communautés locales, les renforcements de capacité en langue locale sont les plus, en tout cas, accueillis, et on a beaucoup plus de retours, de résultats par rapport aux formations que nous faisons. Donc, j'invite nos jeunes défenseurs du climat ici à y procéder. Merci.
Thank you so much. As you just mentioned, a strategy they've used, which was to not only do capacity building, but to do that in local languages. And they found that there's more impact when you use local language. Because now I'm adding, the people don't only understand the issues, they can be able to discuss the issues in a way they can relate to. So let's come to the front. Is there a hand? It's another hand. Let's marginalize the Cameroonians for a moment and go to Kenya.
Good afternoon, everyone. My question is very simple. We are talking about scaling up, but what are we doing in terms of sensitization for the youth? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to leave that to the panel, especially those who have an experience in that area. The gentleman whom I strongly suspect is from Cameroon.
Yes. Thank you very much. Good evening to everyone. My name is Segmenchong Ayaba Kingsley, and I'm coming from a civil society point of view. I work for a civil society organization, and we are more into system management of natural resource, where we try to put the community at the forefront. But in this our program, we have the aspect of environmental education, where we try to do some kind of environmental programs on climate change around schools. And also there's this aspect of cultural heritage, wherein because we realize as the time goes by, our culture is not being due to the aspect of colonialism and all of that. So we like in the Kupe where we do some planting of trees. There's a particular tree called Muisi, where we try to sensitize the youths about the importance of these trees. And also, as of now, we have been able to plant about 3,000 of these trees. So it's my first time being here, and I also heard of YAF from Mary today, and I'm happy to also hear what other youths are doing around. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The long-term vision is that all of these actions are connected in some way, and that when we are scaling together so that the impact is even stronger. Yeah. Is there any other hand at the front? So there's a hand here.
Good afternoon. My name is Nonofo Kula from Botswana. I hope I'm audible. I'm very much excited to learn that the Youth Adaptation Forum for your FOFA rather will be in Botswana, October 2025. So I just wanted to say I'm ready. Welcome to collaborate with you and assist you in any way. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And the Botswana Rendezvous will be the first time we're hosting the Youth Forum on adaptation finance out of Cameroon. So we're hoping to continue reaching other parts of the continent with this initiative. There's a hand here.
Hello, everybody. A birthday blessing from Cameroon. Okay, seeing what YAF is doing, I just want to add to what they're doing, that they should not just limit it at to the community, but they should bring this to schools too, from the boarding school, and this YAF is going to create more awareness for our girls in secondary schools. So when they come out of school, they'll be more aware and probably want to join and create more impact in the society. So this is my contribution.
Thank you so much. I think that's a brilliant idea. And since you're already in contact with Mary and the team, that's a conversation you guys should have. If there's not, Yes, bien sûr. I heard bien sûr. Where was it coming from? Okay, from the other room. There's interference, so yes.
I also wanted to add something.
So what I want you to do is, in saying what you want to say, answer some of the questions that concern you. Hope.
Okay. I also want to add something that she's saying on the school issues. As us, we are doing. We have two groups. We divided them into two. There are some who goes to schools, and then there are some who are school dropouts, and we train them differently. We train them as during weekends, those who go to school, and then those who doesn't go to school, we train them during the week. Yeah.
Thank you so much. But there was a question directed to you on thinking a little bigger than you were thinking at this point. What's preventing you from dreaming big? Let me not use think this time.
Okay, I would say we have already started focusing on school. I was also trying to answer that. Yeah, as a YAF ambassador, I've started on that part. Yes.
You see, there's a lot of things that come across as wisdom. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step. The problem is that it's 1,000 miles, right? And if you're not seeing 1,000 miles ahead, you could actually do 1,000 steps on the same spot. So you really need to have strategy and vision as the same package. Even if you're starting small, but you should be very clear about where you're heading. Otherwise, you can be small forever. In fact, our farmers have been small for as long as we can remember.
Okay, the reason we are
Tilling the same plot of farm for 50, 60 years, 3 generations, grandmother to great grandmother, and so on and so forth. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we are training trainers so that people can be able also to come and book us, and then we'll be going into other areas.
Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. Est-ce qu'il y a encore des questions ici devant? S'il n'y a pas de questions, je vais maintenant donner la parole au docteur Jamshi pour poser sa question et je suis sûr qu'il a beaucoup de choses à dire.
Thank you very much, Eugene. I am not asking a question. I'm just expressing a satisfaction of an old man who has been in the trenches for 35 years. And we are going to quit the stage in hope. You know, so often we get young people who think that attending international meetings is participation. And when they reach out to you, it's about, can you invite me to this meeting? Now we are seeing a breed of young people that are so much into the communities. This I can only say, I am satisfied. Again, Godwin said something. Each time you ask them, what do you need? None of them talked about money. Now, Africa is talking. That capacity may need money, but it is not the money that is chasing the capacity, it's capacity that needs money. I'm so proud. Another thing, talking of scaling, did you see any sign of scaling in this? The biofertilizer started in Cameroon. These youth ambassadors, in fact, one said they copied and pasted. Scaling might not be in that locality, but when you look at it in a macro way, you see that the impact, in French we say touch d'huile, there is that touch, there is that stain. Yes, all over. Imagine They're doing the same thing in Burkina Faso, inspired by Cameroon experience, Benin, Malawi, Chad. Then, if Godwin, imagine that we add 10 more countries. How will the impact be? So I'm calling on us not to feel frustrated that we are so micro, but that we must start somewhere and impact the communities. Now, why are we insisting on communities? Adaptation needs are everywhere. When you look at the national level, governments are spending a lot of money on adaptation. So, adaptation needs are different depending on where you stand. In fact, in Africa, we usually say in the jungle, the risk that is run by the person that has seen the lion is different from the risk the person that has been seen by the lion is running. I think these communities are those who have been seen by the lion. And I'm almost forgotten. For young people, in spite of their age, get concerned about their mothers, their grandmothers, and they're teaching them something that is productive. I think we can celebrate that. I have a positive image as from now going on. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Coming from someone who swore that they were not going to speak here today, that's quite a good contribution to the discussion. Godwin, I'd like to invite you to comment to some of the things that you've heard, partly because I've just received an alert. I'm supposed to be somewhere where you're supposed to be. So I would understand if after this you're able to dash out and take care of business elsewhere, and we'll be joining you shortly. But you have the floor now.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. And I'll be very brief. And my comments are also very similar to what Augustine has said. Um, the, and I've said this before in another forum, but I see a running theme throughout this ACS where the youth are beginning to show up and show up strongly. And this is one example of it. There was another example just next door here where the AU also hosted a youth innovation hub where we have a lot of youth that have innovative ideas and are coming to showcase these ideas. Many of them don't really have access to resources to be able to scale up these ideas. Many don't have, say, mentors that can help them build capacity. Many of them don't even know how to scale. Some of them, this is an idea, they took it up, they run with it, and they are running it at the community level, which is great. But they need additional support, be it capacity building, be it bringing them into fora where their voices can be heard. So in fora like this, because you have a big platform where you can showcase the work you're doing, and you are showcasing it at a place where you have relevant audience that can listen to that and tell you, this is interesting, and I want to work with you on that one. And I think these are the kinds of opportunity we should continue to avail to the youth. Personally, I'm really encouraged by what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, be it from this YAF program, be it from the innovation hub that the AU is running. So I'm beginning to realize this is a team that is cutting across. Many people are beginning to realize Africa is not, it's not just the victim. Yes, we suffer the most, but we also have innovative ideas on how we can address some of these issues. And the youth are not just sitting. I know we are in the age of computers and cell phones, and they could be sitting in their couch playing video games or just chatting on their phone, but they've rolled their sleeves and are churning out ideas and are just looking for help to break through with these ideas. And I think this is where um, foundations like ours, philanthropies, any other catalytic funding that we can get, one, to help them build that capacity, but two, also to help unlock bigger funds. I don't think any single foundation, like I've said that before, I don't think any single foundation would be able to help my friend from Malawi to scale to 2 million bottles. But if the foundations can help you unlock bigger resources to help him get to 1 million bottles, and I think us and when we get there is where we should begin to celebrate success. So I'm really pleased to be here to hear all of these wonderful stories. I think we are in this together, and we'll continue to advocate for our youth to scale up these innovations. So thank you very much for having me. Really appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Godwin, for your time. I know how busy you've been these days, so thank you for coming. We really appreciate and acknowledge the commitments and the sacrifices you've made. Let's hear from the rest of our panelists. Becky, you want to go first?
Yeah, thank you so much, Eugene, and thank you everyone for just sharing inspirational stories about what is happening around you and within your vicinity. Thank you also. I'd like to thank Mr. Godwin, who accepted our call to participate in our launch this morning. I'd like to just summarize what everyone was talking about: sustainability, sensitization, and all that, and talk about partnerships. That is how CGFA, we see the communities as partnerships. We don't see them as beneficiaries. We don't see them as just passive recipients of grants, just the way normal, not normal, the conventional funding streams see us, the global south. We were looked at as beggars, but CGFA looks at these communities as partners. Why do we look at them as partners? It's because through capacity building within them as a front and providing flexible funding, we are able to mobilize them into movements, into institutions that can access opportunities or platforms that PACJA provides. And that is why it is an initiative of PACJA.
Thanks so much. If you can wrap up in 2 seconds.
Yes. So I just want to inspire a bit about one community that does something about schools. My brother talked about schools. This is in Kenya. They are called Greening Machakos, and they work with schools to plant trees, fruit trees, to rehabilitate the land that is degraded because of climate disasters. Another one is Gedilo, just here in Ethiopia. They mobilized the public. They did this through Facebook and through social media. They mobilized youths around to just come up and clean up like Dembel, and through CGFA, they have also formed institutions strengthening their cause. So I think I just want to encourage everyone that we should not look at the obstacles, but we should look at the opportunities available for us.
Thank you so much. Lydia, comments on what has been said, maybe also your final thoughts. 2 minutes, if it's possible. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So from the comments and hearing in terms of sensitization around this, and from where I'm sitting is where we are now looking at the sensitization that is coming through the actions that the young people are doing. And from there, it is where people also are taking up another action and building up the movement, where we are scaling up at different levels. And I'm happy to say, even from here, this has been a very good platform in terms of sensitization with actions. We've seen how our colleagues from different countries are having these different initiatives. And then these initiatives are not only speaking to one aspect. We've seen how they're speaking to the social, economic, as well as the environment in terms of strengthening different initiatives, but also building up the enterprise. And if we're talking of the Africa Continental Free Trade, this is one of the initiatives that cuts across different countries in Africa, where the young people can come together with different initiatives and then build a very strong movement. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you. And I want us to appreciate our panel. If we had time, we would have kept them here longer, but we must transition at this point. Thank you so much, Becky. Thank you so much, Lydia. And thanks to Godwin, who has just left us. As final thoughts, again, we're still exploring what's possible and how can we scale what we are already doing. And as final thoughts, I'd like to invite Jonas, who is the PACJA coordinator for Ethiopia, but also happens to be the chairperson of the Non-State Actors Committee. that's organizing the Africa Climate Summit. As Jonas here, I saw him, so I strongly suspect he's still here. While we find Jonas, one of the key partners of this initiative has been the Africa Adaptation Initiative. In fact, it's our belief that all adaptation work on the continent needs to revolve around AAI. And we've been partnering with them not only as part of our input into the scale of effort that is required to deal with the problem of adaptation, but to demonstrate that when institutions work in partnerships, the impact can be stronger. And we're privileged to have the coordinator of the AAI here with us. And the good news is that he also has a second capacity, which makes sense to the conversation we're having as this year's co-chair of the GCF. So it's my privilege to invite Ambassador Saini to speak to us in 5 or so minutes.
Here? Hello? Hello? It's very bizarre to talk and you can't really listen to yourself. So I'll be very brief. I don't think I need more than a minute. The first point is to say that we're very happy and we're very privileged to work with you with supporting. We're very happy to support the YAF, and for all those colleagues who are involved. Here's what I want us to start working on next year, because the idea is that through YAF, what we are interested in is to also implement adaptation at the local level, adaptation at the community level, and identifying those solutions which are already implemented at the local level that can be replicated and scaled. So what I want to do starting next year is that we think about a YAF climate resilience finance facility. And some of us will work with you in putting together a GCF proposal. And the idea is we would, so the idea is that we will push the envelope and see if we can work on a 20 or $25 million proposal, which will be a fund. And then the idea is that then that fund will start issuing call for proposal so that all of your different organization, whether 5,000, 10,000, but the idea is to put in place a revolving fund through the GCF so that the GCF will be the first one to capitalize it and then others will come in. But that should allow us to really accelerate the identification of solution, the replication phase and the scaling phase, and then others can come in to sort of take it to the next level. But I think we've been now 2 to 3 years of implementation. So I think we already have learned quite a lot. We've implemented quite a lot, and we should be in a position to be able to have that experience, which is a unique experience in the world. So let's start doing it very quickly before others think about it and steal the idea. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that's a good note to end on, and I want to thank you all for coming. I know it's not very easy to have people stay during the last events of the day. Thank you for coming, and let's stay in touch. Please, for the young people who are here, if you're not yet a member of the YAF community, the team in charge is here. Have a conversation with them before you leave. You'll be hearing from us, and there's a lot of good things that are in the pipeline, as we've heard. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening. Merci beaucoup. I also want to mention that the continent was very well represented. Thank you for coming.